gonna do a post show. The reason why I'm able to come up with all this stuff is because I read books. Books. They have knowledge inside of them. Technically speaking, don't try to eat it. Because it's dumb. There are a lot of reasons why people are able to come up with a lot of different amazing things in additions to stuff. Certain additives and certain explorers, certain people made books and they didn't have any of that stuff. They didn't have any organization backing them. They didn't have any person being able to tell them what was and what wasn't. They were completely on their own. And there are a lot of days where I kind of look back to a lot of explorers, a lot of people who went the extra mile to realize and not what's the word promoted slavery. Lewis and Clark did a lot, and they had a guide. They didn't have a helper woman, and I'm glad that they actually said that, and in the history books too, because she got paid a lot of money, and she brought it back to her tribe. She was able to make a lot of different stuff and tell people how good the Americas were, and when it was smaller. And it's really, I think, what gave and opened the way to a lot of other different tribes trusting people and trusting a lot of different things. So when you say that Thanksgiving has no meaning, realize that it does have a meaning. It symbolizes the mistrust between nations of the Native American tribes that were around when people were doing things, and the situations that led to eventually people trusting a lot of different people in the American nations, and it had a lot to do with a lot of different treaties that happened, and those treaties aren't sometimes readily available, but they're in your local library sometimes, that people don't understand that sometimes those are the books that are numbered. Sometimes they're just numbered, and some people don't even look at them and don't even realize what actually happened. And people were dying of starvation because they didn't realize that the food wasn't always going to be there. Some people didn't realize it, and the younger generation sometimes tried to take over their entire camp. In most situations they did, and then tried to realize certain fates, and because they believed in certain things and they were literally being boiled alive sometimes in the sun, they didn't realize that they weren't used to those sort of things that were happening, because there were a lot of different people that decided that they were gonna get off those reservations and realize their goals, and realize that there was a government out there and a place that they could call their own. For every problem there is with some sort of person saying something racist or stupid, there are at least a handful of people. For every one person there is saying that something is not being treated right, or not saying something right, there are tons of people who have built their careers, who have made their whatever they wanted to make, and made completely amazing discoveries about a bunch of different things, and in some cases it actually changed their career path, and whatever sort of thing they were going into, whatever sort of research they were making, it turned them into researchers and scientists sometimes, and business owners, and a whole bunch of different other things. And that's the reason why sometimes people don't believe in where they go or what they do. There are a lot of times where people have pride in what they have in their culture sometimes, and there are a lot of times when people have pain a lot in their culture, and sometimes that's kind of sometimes what leads to kids having disabilities, Sometimes it's just a reflex. Sometimes it's just something that they built up over time. It's like an allergy sometimes too. It can act as an allergy. It could just be some sort of mineral that they're not used to, that they never got used to when they were younger, or when they were in the womb, of something that their mom didn't eat at all. Yeah. Realize that if you want your kid to be able to do different things, you have to be able to make sure that you're gonna eat the right stuff, and realize that there are a lot of people out there that don't realize that the American government doesn't change things sometimes because they know that other people are used to them. Not other people are used to laws or anything, but they know that the situation happening and arising is sometimes few and far between. And if this was a terrorist act, then those kids would have been absolutely right. They would have been absolutely right in every one of their actions. They would have been able to stay in certain areas, and it would have been a hostage situation until that kid got taken into custody because he got scared. He got scared and he left. He got scared and he ran away, because that's what kids do sometimes. And the realization of fact sometimes is, kids sometimes don't think everything through. Kids really have to understand that they have to show appreciation sometimes for someone, because if they don't, sometimes kids don't even think about another thought about that. They just put it away, and they don't put it through they don't take it in anymore. And that's the reason why I think that people need to understand stuff. Is that there are a lot of things that people don't talk about, but there are a lot of times where people talk about them and no one listens. Like including this case. There was one dude that came on. Thank you, that one person. But there are a lot of reasons why people they realize certain goals for themselves sometimes, and sometimes those goals are negative. Sometimes those goals involve hurting people and making people feel pain because of something that they felt when they were younger. Sometimes people don't understand that there are certain situations where there are a lot of different people who find a situation comforting, or a situation that they find comforting, and that's sometimes used to manipulate and use them for things that they don't want to be used for. And people do that all the time, and that's sometimes the reasons why those guns probably aren't going to be completely banned. I'm just telling y'all. I'm just telling y'all. God dang it. I didn't notice that that car was there until it was, because it materialized. There are a lot of times where people take into consideration something and don't realize the consequences of it. Blaming something for being a certain way, and you experiencing that. If you take that into consideration, and if you take that thing into consideration, realize that there has to be a law about that. Not realizing that you're a part of the equation in the situation. Me doing a bunch of stuff on this video game does not insinuate that in any case that I would ever do something violent. But also realizing that the fact of the matter is that there are people out there that change things for a reason. They change things because of a lot of people getting hurt. Like the reason why that kid had a seizure in Japan. There are things that are worse than guns sometimes. And people have to understand that kid probably ate a certain number of certain chemicals inside of his food. Artificial sweeteners and different things like that can literally pump through your bloodstream and cause you to hallucinate. Because in some cases they derive their stuff from different plants that they don't check first for pesticides or anything like that. And synthesized versions of pesticides can be hallucinogenic. There are a lot of reasons why I quit smoking weed. Because there are a lot of people out there that don't understand that the chemicals they put on their plants is the things that you can smell the most of. If it smells like a couch, If it smells like a fart or something like that, it means they used the wrong fertilizer. If it smells like a couch, it means they used the wrong pesticides. Or they used Lysol in their room and when they were growing wherever they were growing. And I'm completely alone, so there's not a lot of people that are paying attention to me right now, but I guess they will. But I've noticed that there are a lot of times where I decided that I was going to build on something, or I was going to say something differently. And that's the reason why I'm waiting sometimes. I'm waiting until weed becomes legal in New Orleans. And that's the reason why I'm waiting, because there are a lot of people out there that don't realize the things that they do, or realize the things that they do and do it anyways because they're just waiting for a quick buck. And realizing that is the reason also why businesses go under constantly. Yeah. Yep. So also realizing the fact that there are people out there that pay attention to things and then don't pay attention to things because of their innate ability to ignore the facts and say that, like say Monsanto itself. There could have been a reason why people said they need to stop their things, or they need to stop some sort of production. Some person said, well, I'm not worried about that, I'm just worried about making money, or I'm trying to feed my family, something like that. But realize that that's what happens. People make money and then people die because of messed up stuff, or people get extremely sick over things that are completely minuscule. And also, I believe in no death. I don't believe in death. It never happened to me. I never did. I never will. There are many situations that people don't understand that there's a big case for. I know for a fact that it's all science, and it's all completely and utterly explainable. And, but I don't consider myself any sort of better person because of it. I have to be able to make myself be the person that I really want to be if I'm going to ever have knowledge, or any sort of knowledge at all. Realization of fact that there are a lot of things that I study because of it, and I study a lot of different things because that's what they had to understand. And back in the day, is there were things that people were working on back in the day, and I know this for a fact because not because of my dad telling me, because my dad never told me, because he's not an idiot and an asshole. These are things that people put into and are ingrained into people's consciousnesses sometimes, and the thought of being able to get everything at once, so the thought of being able to get something that you want and that you need. The realization of fact is the realization of fact is that that people don't understand where they're coming from in a certain situation sometimes, especially kids. They don't understand where they're supposed to stand, or they don't understand where they're supposed to move their hands, and that reflex can stop them from saying something that is very, very pertinent to a situation. And they can act like they don't understand a situation, but they really do. And whether that's a thing that they're trying to make, or whether that's a thing that they're trying to situate themselves as, notice that if they're holding on to information, then they're technically inside traders. If they know where a market's going to go because of certain things that have happened, because they're very smart, and they seem very smart. And I don't know where they got that information from, but understandably so. I really think that they need to check themselves before they find themselves in a situation that they can't get out of. Realize that there are a lot of different measures that people took, and there are a lot of things that people did. People don't understand that there are a lot of different things that that people don't understand about certain situations, and don't understand about certain people. And whether they got that information from a certain person or another certain person, is very pertinent because they took all the measures themselves. I know they did because they did everything right. And it's not just because they went through some drill. All of them tweeted, all of them live tweeted, and other people called the police. And I know for a fact that their parents did not even see anything like that ever coming. They even said it on the news. They literally said it on the news. We couldn't have predicted anything like this from happening. We had a drill earlier in the week. But hey, there's something out there that people understand now. People understand that kids themselves can unify. They can unify and they can also disperse. And divide and realize that they're individuals. So, understanding the fact that that young girl just doesn't have a tan, and in no way did she ever eat anything that was bad for her. She's just olive complected. When they don't have a tan, they get olive complected. Okay. So, where they got any of that information from was, I guess, probably from any one of their own friends' military defense books. Those friends could have been people who were the teachers, anything like that, or the friends of the teachers, or the friends of anyone. The reason why they probably got that from their friend is because there were military strategies in there, and that's the reason why that's actually a military strategy. For defending, that's an old military strategy though. It's an old one. The reason why people would stay inside is if they were completely surrounded. So there are a lot of kids out there that are going to have to explain themselves when they learned exactly what they did. How they learned it is completely a mystery sometimes. But understandably so, if they play video games, then it's all chalked up to that. Realize that there are people out there that want to help. Realize that there are people out there that really want to help you guys. And want to help you kids. And know exactly where there are things for you to be able to get to. Like an evacuation point in case something happens. And don't just say it's a thing, because if you panic at all, sometimes you can lose your life. Realize that there are evacuation points in a school sometimes. And the reason why the kids stayed is because they thought they were completely surrounded. Probably because of something they heard on the news. So, whenever you're realizing a certain fact or realizing a certain thing, whenever you're trying to go through some sort of plan, because I've studied a lot of different things that my dad used to do. They're all declassified. They're all knowledge, and I know it's all not knowledge technically. It's all things that are in the Library of Congress and certain areas and certain things. My dad talked to me while I was in Washington D.C. and while I did a lot of things, and while I did a lot of stuff. He always used to tell me different things that were happening, different things that might happen because of something else happening. It was all declassified, and I know that for a fact. Because I checked at the Library of Congress sometimes, and I'd see different titles and different things like that. So, online. Alright, so realizing that there are a lot of different things that those kids probably learned from someone or something or anything at all, there are also a lot of reasons where I've found that there are a lot of people out there that if they're trained the proper way, sometimes they do bad things afterwards. Even if they're trained the proper way, you never know which way they'll go. That's the reason why you need to be prepared, and be prepared. Always. The reason why you shouldn't work out constantly on your muscles is because the reason why is the same reason why muscle itself is heavy. The reason why it's heavy is because your heart has to pump to be able to get to those things. To be able to get to those huge muscles you have, and be able to make you realize that those facts are probably the reasons why those kids stayed in those classes. The reason why those kids stayed in those classes is because they were hyperventilating. It could have been because of mold inside of the classroom. It could have been because of an absence of mold. It could have been because of an invisible mold known as, what's the word? I don't even know the word, but I know there's an invisible mold out there that it doesn't show. So realize, there are people out there that if they cut corners on contracting, then kids themselves, the people inside of it, can't get those things. And if they ever did those things on purpose, for any reason, they're probably considered terrorists now. And no, they are considered terrorists now. The people who cut corners and different kinds of contractors, different kinds of contracts, and say to people that there's supposed to be some sort of different thing that they're supposed to use, and it winds up being cork or something porous and able to get in to take in water constantly and not actually show mold. Because see, that's the reason why. It's not actually mold that goes that dark color or turns into mushrooms. It's a chemical that completely seals in the mold. And that's the reason why you see those different things. It's the reason why you see those coffee stains on the ceiling sometimes. It's the reason why you see those like weird looking coffee-esque stains on the ceiling sometimes. See that stuff? See, if you ever see that stuff, blah. It's an image going through my mind sometimes. If you ever see that stuff, or if you ever notice that stuff,
you're never gonna win that, little guy.
That is the chemical itself, the chemical in the paint that is used to treat the thing that stops the mold from growing. And the reason why they use that stuff is because a lot of times they won't have to replace it immediately, but it's supposed to be replaced eventually. Because what happens is it dries up, and then, being mold, it still dries, but it goes airborne. That's the reason why sometimes things stink sometimes inside of, what's the word? Places. I stink sometimes because I don't take a shower. But unfortunately, I don't smell like mold. And I know I don't smell like mold. Hopefully people know that. So, realize that you need to change your ceiling tiles sometimes. Change your ceiling tiles, people won't sneeze as much. Change your ceiling tiles, I won't sneeze as much, but just because people got rid of that reflex over generations of time, doesn't mean they're used to anything. It still means the airborne thing is going inside of their body, and it could cause cancer, and people could sue. And they still can today. Or tonight. Because it's nighttime right now. It's day during the game, but it's nighttime right now. So, at least people know what hemisphere I'm on. There are also certain situations and people that that are able to notice different areas in certain chemical things. Oh, dang it! I freaking got. Oh, you son of a bitch! And yes, I said beige. It's not anything on a curse word or anything like that. It is a there are also a lot of different reasons why people do different things and say different things. Man, I'm trying to go on different subject to different subject here. But there are a lot of reasons why people choose to be able to make certain things and do different things for themselves. But realize that also too, as per dairy aisle. There we go. Okay. Realize that as per dairy aisle, the humidity is kept at a certain level and the temperature is kept at a very low level. In some cases can actually cut through that chemical that is in those tiles. So, realizing that there are certain things that people don't know about, like temperature and how to keep control of it. There are people out there that are not able to control any temperature. They just know the way to be able to situate things back in the refrigerator, not out to the front, to be able to let people know exactly that there is a malfunction with sometimes the refrigerators that they use. The malfunction is that they say that whatever temperature it is a temperature throughout the entire thing, but it's only that way because it's seeping off. Okay? Once a refrigerator starts running normally, because it runs at a high level when it's first gotten within the first couple of months, realizing that certain thing in the first couple of months, it starts to run at a lower level. So the temperature itself in the front isn't what they say it is, the way that it always works. Okay? Since it always works, and always realizes its own temperature, okay? Realizing also that as that starts to happen, dew starts to come around. So as that starts you start to realize certain things, the hot and cold temperatures make water, okay? When those hot and cold temperatures meet, whether they're interacting or not, they can make mold underneath the refrigerator because of also the leaking water. Because of refrigerators eventually start to leak water once they've been used for more than 4 or 5 years. It's just something. It happens. The stuff that they use to be able to seal the stuff isn't always the best stuff. So, that's what happens. Also, there's probably mold somewhere in New Orleans at a store that I'm not going to say the name of at all. So, realizing that, I'm going to go somewhere else. Probably. At some point. Realizing that I knew all of that stuff from just watching and realizing the certain situation. Realizing that I knew all of those things, not even seeing what was going on, but understanding the certain temperatures and the way that they actually interact with each other because of high pressure and low pressure and cold and hot. Because high pressure is usually cold. Low pressure is usually hot. That's the reason why eventually people are going to understand the reasons why people live on the equator. Because low pressure, and it's just like, really, it's really great. It's like, so realize, high pressure is because things are getting compacted together. Cold makes it compact together. So it's a high pressure system. Low pressure is hot because it's releasing all the particles. Because fire itself explodes. And yes, explodes. Because the spark explodes and keeps losing materials. Because it's burning off stuff. Cold, high pressure. Hot, low pressure. Because things will crumble not with the ferocity that something will happen if you drop a fire into a train tanker and it does that. Understandably so. The only reason is because there is a high pressure system inside of there because of the air that stays inside. It's the reason why people have those smokeless ashtrays. If someone were to set a piece of dry ice inside of it, inside of a an ashtray or something like that, a smokeless ashtray, and that smokeless ashtray was airtight, because they're not airtight at all. They'd be able to make an implosion, basically, if they were ever to put their cigarette or a match inside of it. Not just a cigarette, because a cigarette usually doesn't insinuate any high pressure or any high pressure. High pressure, low pressure, moisture. An explosion of moisture, usually happening near a refrigerator. So that's what happens. It's the reason why they're going to have to probably clean behind those things, and they're probably looking behind them now. But understandably so, even if they haven't looked behind them before, realize this. There are certain situations and things that people don't understand about me. Okay? They understand my anger, my things, my dumbness, my idiocy, my idioticness, but it's only because I used to protect the facts that I knew and constantly knew all the time. Because I didn't come up with any sort of thing. I was just covering up the facts, the stuff that I was paying attention to, because I thought sometimes that I'd get into trouble for being able to pay attention to those facts. Realizing that there is a certain symbol of fact. There's a certain symbol of a situation that people don't understand about, or don't look into a certain situation. Realize that there are people out there that know exactly how I've been doing things. And I've tried to keep as many facts away from them as possible. Not as many facts as much as they know, but facts as much as I know, because I myself have been selling myself short. I don't want to do that anymore. I never wanted to do that. I never actually wanted to do that. I just thought that I was going to get in trouble from someone, and then every single time they wound up paying me less. So I'm going to actually tell people exactly the reasons why I got into or wanted to get into business for myself. Because I know that if I'm able to create a certain position or a certain situation, people will not try to trust me with all of their stupid secrets. All of their stupid secrets that I don't care about and never have. Because they'll know how much I don't care exactly about their certain situation or thing like that. But they'll also know the reason why I don't care. It's so I don't become a part of the situation and get outed as a person who tried to help someone with a certain emotional problem. That's the reason why I sometimes unfriend people. When I unfriend people, it doesn't mean that I'm going to not friend them back. It means that I don't want to think about them right now, because I'm thinking about something else. No matter what shows up in the RAM of my mind, the ROM is still working on a big old problem. So, no matter what, realize that I am trying my best to be able to make myself look into the future and see different things or different possibility of possible future of something that is really, really cool and could help literally everyone with what I'm trying to actually accomplish in my business. But also could help people with things every day, and I don't want to be able to see a certain thing. I don't want to be able to make a certain thing. I don't want to be able to make anything just yet, because I'm still coming up with all the ideas in my head. Still coming up with all those big old ideas. All those big old things that help with a whole bunch of different stuff. Trying to come up with those ideas. Trying to come up with those ideas. Realize that there are people out there that deserve something. There are people out there that deserve a likeness or a something or something amazing. And no matter what people actually think that is about what I'm actually thinking about, the situation that I'm actually talking about or the thing that I'm actually referencing to is probably going to help a lot of people if I make it and someone else doesn't first. The realization of fact is that I tell people lies sometimes. I don't exactly tell people lies sometimes, but I tell people not half-truths, so that even if they came up with an idea that was similar to mine, then they would come up with something different than my actual self. And that's the technique I use to tell people about themselves. To tell people that, hey, even though we talk together and even though we hang out, I'm still not going to do that thing you asked me to do a whole bunch of times ago. I'm still not going to try to become a graphic designer because I know that there's hardly ever any future in it sometimes, because the only reason why there's any future in it is because we decided that we weren't going to go on heavy on technology in the 70s, and that's the reason why in the 90s everything happened and not the 70s. But understandably so, if that happened, then they'd try to accept nuclear power, and that's probably what Fallout 4 is based on. That's the reason why. There are a lot of different things I pay attention to. There are a lot of different things that my subconscious mind pays attention to, but I don't see. But that's the point, is you still see it even if you don't see it, because your mind makes a picture of understanding even though your eyes don't actually know it. And that's what I want to get into sometimes. But I'm going to save it for later. I'm at 36 minutes. It's time to say goodbye. Because there are a lot of different things that I know about, and there are a lot of different things that I don't feel like sharing. Because there are a lot of people out there that really just want to know certain information and want to leave, and want to go somewhere, and want to do something else. Because they don't care. And I don't care about them. Realize that there are certain people out there that deserve a very, very big thank you, and a very, very awesome hug. And there are a lot of people out there that deserve a lot of things and help a lot of people so many different ways. But understandably so, it's only because they have a certain destiny, I guess, or fate, I guess. Understandably so, after that fate, they're able to make any decision that they ever feel like, sometimes. And realize that that certain situation that they're in, or that certain situation that they're going to be in, realize that it's the biggest thing that you need to realize. Is the biggest thing that you need to really realize is that there are certain people out there that help so many times. And there are certain people out there that know so much really, really unimportant information. But understandably so, that unimportant information is pertinent in times of need sometimes. That's the reason why people are constantly gaining information, like the NSA, the CIA, all those other different people are constantly gaining information. Not people's personal information all the time, and not ever disclosing any personal information completely ever. But understanding that there are certain situations that if people understood the situations and where it came from, then they can help and be able to be a certain person that they need to be in order to be able to become the person they really want to be. And realize that certain situations are the way they are because there are certain people that know about certain situations. There are certain people that understand certain situations. And there are a lot of things that people understand because of it. And they didn't go to school sometimes. They probably were in a biker gang before they ever went there. And what they did completely changed their lives. The only reason why it changed their lives was because they were able to escape. They were able to get out of it. And they were able to realize that motorcycles are dangerous. And also mildly suicidal. Yeah. But also realizing that they're dangerous in some ways. Realizing that there are people that are talented enough to be able to ride them and be able to do a lot of different things, and those people are very, very talented. But understandably so, they have to realize that there are certain situations where they don't pay attention to everything, and that's the reason why sometimes there are people that I've seen on certain websites that have had sometimes their face completely cleavered off because of something, or literally ground down to just skin and bone. Or not even just skin and bone, past skin and bone, and literally just meat. But also realize that that dude's realized a certain future because he probably had reconstructive surgery done. And he can live a semi-normal life, most likely. Or he didn't make it. There was a lot of different things that people didn't... but also realize that it's gonna be the same. It'll never be the same. Be yourself. and understand that there are people out there that care, and realize that there are certain people out there that want you to be able to make so much, and make sure you're able to do it, because not only is it a complete and utter gift to have someone's adorance, but it's a responsibility. And if you're not completely ready to be able to make those decisions, to be able to make the decisions that actually count, then situations can go awry, and there are certain times when people have decided that there are a lot of different reasons why people don't understand certain things. There are a lot of different reasons why people don't understand certain people. And they really, really don't understand that sometimes there are things that surprise you and help you. And no matter what, realize that there are certain people out there that wish you well. And I'm not talking to kids anymore, because I don't want this to be my entire thing. Realize that you can stop situations from happening sometimes. You can stop situations from happening, and you can help people. Realize that you can be there for someone else. And this isn't just for me. So realize that they can say what they want to say or how they want to say it, or be who they want to be. But realize that it doesn't matter what people actually think sometimes. It doesn't matter how people actually think things sometimes. It matters what they do and what they accomplish. And but the realization of the fact that they didn't have that thought going in their head can kind of scare you sometimes, because if that wasn't that thought, then which one was it? And for me, that thought was being able to accomplish goals and be ready for the thing that is most likely ready for me, my life, and the things that I want for myself. And also, a lot of times, it's just because I feel like smiling, because of the possibilities that are at hand, and the people out there that are able to understand that I'm a nice guy, and I'm not some douchebag with a vendetta on someone. Realize that there are people out there that want to help, and that want to do something for yourself, or that want to do something for you out there. Just realize that the reflexes are going to keep on coming for me, and realize that there are a lot of different things that people don't understand about the things that they do. And also read books, and understand that if you read too many books, though, you'll start to blow through them like nothing, and you won't get any information. You'll just be reading the words, because that's the reason why whenever you read a book, people say they read silently. Okay? They say read silently, but you should read out loud at first to be able to help yourself hear the words, because I'm an audible thinker. That's what I do. I read that out loud at first, and then whenever somebody tells me to be quiet, and I shouldn't do that, but whenever I'm actually getting what's going on, or whenever I'm getting the thing that's happening, I stop. I stop reading aloud, and I start reading silently. Because it's like I'm going to have to start rewiring my brain to do a lot of different things. And I have to say that I'm pretty talented, and I'm a 30-year-old. And my dad did not spank me. He sat me down and lectured me, because he realized that eventually he understood that he couldn't punish us. He couldn't, because we'd always just come up with a new idea. Because we're smart. And we are all smart. So I'm not going to say anything after that, because it's just going to confuse what I'm trying to say. But realize that there are people out there that want to yeah. That's exactly kind of what an explosion happens, but it's not exactly the thing that's like. I'd stay back about like 50 feet, I guess. It's probably the... Yeah. $12. But yeah, since there's not much to say, not that much to say, not a lot of things to say. I'm gonna say, have a good day, and be yourself, and don't try to listen to anybody else's rule, because if you think they're trying to push you down the wrong path, then they are, because a situation could come about where you're trying to get into a situation to be prepared, and that person doesn't understand that. And if that person doesn't understand that, then they don't have your knowledge at heart, or they don't have your intentions at heart. So realize that. And that's in any given situation. If someone you think about isn't doing the things that you want them to do, then don't give them the time. And I mean, don't give them the time of day, and move on with your life. So, realization of fact is that people don't want therapy sometimes. People want something that they can build on, something that they can use, something they can do, something physical that they think is the balance of the relationship. But they don't understand is that sometimes they're slowly losing. They're slowly losing something. And what that something is, or what that something was, is just nothing. And the only self-control that they could ever have was realizing a statement of fact that self-control comes from practice. And history is literally the Bible of that. And if people didn't have self-control, complete self-control sometimes, it could be the difference between losing or winning a war, or losing or winning a business situation. And realize kids, or anyone else, that wars happen no matter what. There are wars happening right now, all the time. But sometimes they're friendly competitions. Sometimes they're a whole bunch of different stuff. But also sometimes they're completely and utterly manipulative. People themselves who start wars are manipulative as fuck. People who start socialist regimes are also manipulative as fuck. And just because you change your mind about a certain fact does not mean you completely change your mind about everything. Realize that certain fact, and realize that there are people out there that care. And when people out there care, there are some things that change because of something. It's not because of the leader doing something amazing or realizing some certain fact. They may take the responsibility of it. It's like when a platoon does something good, or says something amazing, or they do the best job that they ever had. It's because that one guy did that one thing? No, it's because the entire troop did well. But if they fail, then they all do push-ups. Realization of fact is that there are certain people out there that believe in themselves. There are certain people out there that know exactly what's going on. And when there's something out there that makes you feel like you're not better, or you're not feeling better, or you're not doing something better for them, realizing a certain statement is true. But realizing that statement and where it comes from, wherever it comes from, if it's an untrustworthy source and has lied before a lot, notice that every piece of information that has ever been released about it is rendered moot. And the realization of fact that someone tried to manipulate the 2016 election, even though it was already going to be Trump. So, it's not the fact that they had the Electoral College. It's the fact that he had more ideas than Hillary Clinton ever did. Okay? He had more ideas to how to change the political structure of something, and to be able to control it in a certain way to be able to yield results. And Hillary Clinton looked up in the sky and thought there were ghosts. Whether she thought there were ghosts, or whether she just was doing something stupid, it means it's not a game to them. It's never a game to them. They put it on the line, both of them. And Trump won because he came up with more ideas. People are knowledgeable. All sides of everything. They all have all ideas. They all talk to people. And that's the reason why sometimes. And I think Russia might have had something to do with it. It may not have been any government affiliate. And they may have been trying to have their best intentions manipulating the government. But understandably so, it doesn't mean that she wasn't knowledgeable. Because there are people out there that can have something in the forefront of their mind and be able to talk about that and completely be thinking about something else in the back of their mind. Or in any other part of their mind. Or in around anywhere. Literally anywhere in their mind. So, realize that. Realize that relation of fact is that there are people that can talk about stuff and be able to go over what they're thinking about inside of their mind and be able to say, I'm going to do some paperwork tonight. And then once I do that paperwork, I'm going to send it off to the emails of something. And if someone was ever following her, if someone was ever trying to manipulate what she was thinking about or how she was thinking about it, through suggestion of some sort, they're going to be the ones that probably goes to jail. No matter what anyone says. So realize there's a lot of people out there that care. And there's a lot of people out there that want to help and want to make you feel calmer. And that's the reason why people feel calmer and are able to speak their mind. But understandably so, if there's nothing but nonsense on their mind and they've gone through trauma, they're gonna speak kind of stupid. But also too, if they're being manipulated in any way to not say something about something, and I haven't seen the episode thing because I really get bored. Really get bored. I get so bored.
I don't believe I'm
Yeah. But understandably so, I don't get that bored, you know. And I don't realize that there are. I always realize that there are certain situations that are dang it, that are about to what's the word? That people aren't going to realize. That's the reason why people don't want it to be cold, warm. Is because if something cold hits it, they're afraid that everything will implode. I believe that fear came from someone, the namely of, might have been someone I'm just gonna say a word, and I'm gonna stop. So
Trust me, you don't want to carpool with me.
Psychopath.
so
I don't wanna
what's that
die.
word?
Suspect doing 50 miles
Objection.
per hour on Rantudo Grande Valley.
Objection sustained.
No, please, no.
Another objection.
Shit.
Objection overruled. Another objection.
Die. Oh.
I didn't say I'd just say one word. I said I'd say a word. I didn't specify exactly how many times.
Good Lord above.
Dispatch, we got eyes on the target.
Realize a center of fact that people try to manipulate you, no matter what you're doing, no matter how you're doing it, because they believe sometimes they're protecting you, sometimes they're trying to protect themselves, sometimes they're trying to protect other people. But realize that manipulation is always what happens. And just because there is a result of something does not mean there is a crime of any sorts, of any kind, unless there is actually a crime. So in realization of the fact that there is actually a crime, there are also people. I need to shut up now. Have a good day and enjoy yourself. Be yourselves and don't let the metaphorical door blow wind by you on the day that you're doing blah. So be yourself and realize that there are people out there that care. And the more people that care are the people that don't understand, are the people that really realize that there are true meanings to the word success. And just because you stopped a person, or you were able to help a person, or you were able to be there for a person, doesn't mean that that person is indebted to you. And I really want to feel like changing that at all times. I hope that it's changed. Because I haven't gone outside the United States, and I really want to go to Tokyo one day. Be yourself, and also realize that there are people out there that care. And have a good time. And not just one day, but more than one day. See you later. Wait a second. Hold on. I got something. What? Oh, you would call me away? Okay, cool, guys. See you later.